Welcome to Life Stories. What do you do when the people you love most are the ones who make you feel invisible? When you've spent your life supporting others, helping them rise, only to be left behind in the shadows of their success? Tonight, Emma is about to face the truth she's been hiding from for years, the truth about her family and the power of her own voice. At her sister's celebration, where the applause is for everyone but her, Emma is forced to confront a painful reality. But what happens when the silent one finally stops stepping aside? Stay with us as we unfold a story of family betrayal, self-worth, and the quiet power of standing up for yourself, even when it feels like no one else will. The night is just beginning and the twist is coming. Emma stood at the sink, rinsing out her daughter Lily's lunchbox, the cold water running over the worn plastic. It was just another evening. The Texas sun cast its final rays through the blinds, the golden light slanting across the laminate countertops like some kind of fleeting illusion. For a moment, she allowed herself to enjoy the peace of it, quiet, ordinary, hers. Then she noticed the envelope sitting on the counter, above the usual junk mail, its elegant silver print gleaming against the dull brown bills. The creamy paper was unmistakable, the kind her sister Brittany always used, crisp and formal, designed to send a message. You're invited, but don't forget your place. She didn't need to open it to know what it was, but she did anyway. In bold letters it read, "You're cordially invited to celebrate Brittany's promotion to Vice President of Client Experience." Beneath her sister's name was the correction, Miss Emma Mitchell and guest. They'd gotten her name wrong again. Emma folded the invitation carefully, hiding it behind the cereal box. She didn't want Lily to see. At 6, Lily didn't remember the last family gathering, the one where Emma was the punchline of a joke that left her shoulders heavy with shame. She didn't know about the toast at Thanksgiving, where Brittany's success was praised and Emma's failures were tossed around like party favors. Lily's innocence was a small comfort, but the weight of it, a mother hiding secrets from her child, felt like a quiet betrayal. "Mommy, what's this?" Lily's voice cut through her thoughts. Emma paused, looking at her daughter's outstretched hand, clutching the RSVP card. Her small face was so hopeful, eyes wide with excitement. "Are we going to Aunt Brittany's party?" Lily asked, her pajamas 2 sizes too small and her hair sticking out in wild tufts. For a moment, Emma hesitated. The guilt gnawed at her, stronger than the resentment. She didn't want to go, didn't want to endure another night where she was invisible, where her worth was measured by how much she could smile through the pain. But when she looked at Lily, her tiny face full of excitement, untainted by the years of disappointment, Emma softened. "I guess we are," she said quietly, brushing a crumb off Lily's cheek. "We'll go." The lie tasted bitter, but Lily didn't notice. She beamed, her smile lighting up the room. That night, after Lily was asleep, Emma received a text from her mother. It was terse, like it always was. "Please don't make this night about you. Just smile, be polite, and don't bring up old stuff. Brittany worked very hard for this. No, how are you? Or I hope you're doing well. Just instructions." Emma stared at the screen, letting the words sink in like a heavy weight pressing against her chest. She wanted to reply, to ask her mother why she had stopped showing up to family gatherings in the first place, but she didn't. She deleted it. She pulled out her dress, the only one formal enough to blend in, but plain enough not to stand out. The side zipper was still broken, so she had to shimmy into it, pinning the seam with a safety clip. As she ironed the dress, her hands trembled. Not from the fabric, but from the effort of staying composed. The ache of wanting to belong to a family that didn't want her back hit her harder than it ever had before. She didn't cry. Not yet. The next morning, she woke early to find Lily already bouncing around the kitchen, wearing her glitter sneakers and tutu. "Surprise!" Lily shouted, holding up a crooked paper folded into fourths. Inside, in her unmistakable childlike scrawl, was a hand-drawn card with stick figures and a pink heart, all in purple marker. "To the best mommy, you're my boss." Emma's heart swelled, and for a moment, everything else disappeared. She pulled Lily close and hugged her a little longer than usual. "You're the best," Emma whispered. Lily, eager and bright, asked if they could bring cookies for the party. "Of course," Emma replied, even though she knew those cookies would probably end up on a table filled with corporate gift baskets and wine bottles. But she wouldn't deny her daughter the chance to give something, especially when she was the only one who had ever given something pure. They packed the cookies into a small tin, and Lily insisted on decorating it with dinosaur stickers. As Emma buckled her into her booster seat, she caught her reflection in the rearview mirror. She was wearing the same dress, her hair pulled back, lipstick barely on. "You're not here to be liked," she reminded herself. "You're here to be kind to her." But deep down, she knew it wasn't true. Somewhere buried under all the practiced smiles and forced silence, she still wanted to be seen. They arrived at the venue, an upscale rooftop venue downtown, well before the event was supposed to start. Lily was asleep in the car, her face sticky from the cookies she'd insisted on tasting. Emma parked in the back, not using the valet. As they stepped out of the car and made their way toward the elevator, Emma couldn't help but feel out of place. The venue was dazzling. Marble accents, golden balloon arches, and a live string quartet playing a slow version of Ain't No Mountain High Enough. But it felt like a dream she didn't belong to. When they reached the check-in table, the young man barely glanced up as he handed Emma a program and muttered, "Table 14. He didn't look at her again. Emma turned to Lily, who was already spinning in her dress, completely unaware of the tension. "Mommy, it looks like a palace," Lily said, wide-eyed. "It sure does, sweetie," Emma said softly. They walked past the tables, the name cards elegant and shining, only to find their own table at the far end of the room, next to a service hallway, near catering. It wasn't even a real table, just a folding chair set up for overflow guests. She set Lily down and placed the decorated cookie tin at the edge. Someone leaned over and asked, "Are you with the photographer crew?" "No, I'm family," Emma replied, forcing a smile. They made their way through the crowd, filled with designers, executives, and mentors. Then she saw Brittany, shiny, poised, the center of attention. She wore a navy blue jumpsuit that shimmered under the lights. Her laugh rang out like a bell. Brittany's eyes met Emma's, and she froze for just a moment before walking over. "Oh, wow," she said, her voice cool. "You came. That's unexpected." Emma didn't respond. She had heard it all before. But this time, she wasn't going to shrink. "Mommy, why are they laughing at you?" Lily's voice was small but filled with confusion. Emma's heart stopped. She wanted to say something, anything to make it stop, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she sat there, frozen, as Brittany continued to laugh with her colleagues. The cruel laughter bounced off the walls, and Emma's silence became her only defense. Have you ever been ignored by the people who were supposed to love you the most? What does it take for someone to finally stand up for themselves in a family like this? As the party continued around her, Emma realized something. Sometimes the silence you keep isn't just about what you're enduring, but what you're preparing for. What happens when you finally stop stepping aside? Will the world finally see you? Or will they just keep pretending you don't exist? Next time, Emma will make sure her presence is felt, but will her family ever truly understand the power of what she's about to do? The tension in the air was unbearable. Emma felt her heart pounding in her chest, the echoes of the laughter still ringing in her ears like an unwelcome reminder. She looked down at Lily, her small hand resting on the edge of the table, her fingers tracing the rim of her empty water glass. She hadn't cried yet, but she could feel it coming. The sting in her chest was too much to bear. She didn't know what hurt more, the humiliation of being invisible in her own family, or the way her daughter had been made to feel ashamed for simply being kind. The laughter continued to echo, but Emma wasn't listening to it anymore. She was watching Brittany, watching how her sister glided through the room, flanked by important people, her laughter now flowing like a melody that charmed everyone within earshot. Emma's eyes narrowed, her grip on the glass tightening. She had worked for this moment too. She had helped build Brittany up. Every late night, every phone call where Brittany had cried about her fears, her insecurities, Every resume Emma had reworked, every interview prep she had done. And now, here she was, sitting at table 14, a forgotten corner of the room, while Brittany soaked in all the applause and praise. But tonight was different. She could feel it. She wasn't going to shrink back again. She wasn't going to be invisible. Not this time. Lily tugged at her sleeve, her voice small, innocent. "Mommy, I want to give Aunt Brittany my gift now. Is it time?" Emma's gaze snapped back to her daughter. Lily's eyes were wide, full of hope, her small hands clutching the glitter-decorated tin like it was the most precious thing in the world. Her innocence was almost too much to bear. She was offering a gift to someone who had just made her mother the punchline of a cruel joke, and she didn't even know it. She didn't understand, but Emma understood. She understood all too well. She had taught her daughter kindness, taught her to give without expecting anything in return. But this was something else entirely. This wasn't kindness. This was a performance, a show of fake smiles and scripted words. It wasn't love. It was obligation disguised as affection. "Go ahead, sweetheart," Emma whispered, her voice trembling just a little. "You can give it to her." Lily bounced in her seat, a grin spreading across her face as she held the gift tightly. Emma watched her daughter walk toward Brittany, each step full of pride, unaware of the cruelty that awaited her. And then, just as Emma had feared, the moment played out like a well-rehearsed act. Brittany looked down at Lily's gift, her smile stiff, polite, but empty. "Oh, sweetie, that's very cute," Brittany said, patting Lily on the head. "But I don't really have space for handmade things in my condo. Very minimalist vibe, you know?" The words hit Emma like a slap. She could see the look in Lily's eyes. Hurt, confused, and small. Emma's heart shattered. How could they do this to her? How could they tear her daughter down too? Lily walked back slowly, the pride in her face gone, replaced with the fragile look of someone who had just been crushed by the weight of rejection. Emma couldn't breathe. She wanted to scream, to demand that they stop, that they see her, see Lily. But she couldn't. She had to stay calm, for her daughter's sake. "Did I do something wrong, Mommy?" Lily's voice cracked as she climbed back into Emma's lap, clutching the gift to her chest like it was a shield. Emma kissed her daughter's forehead, her own tears threatening to spill. "No, baby, you didn't do anything wrong." Her voice was hoarse, barely a whisper. "You were the only one who did something right." But it didn't feel right. Not at all. Emma felt the rage bubbling up inside her, threatening to consume her. She had spent her entire life being the quiet one, the one who always kept her mouth shut, the one who stayed in the shadows. She had been the supporting character in everyone else's story, always behind the scenes, always making sure everyone else got their moment. But tonight she was done. She was done playing small. Her mind raced as she sat back, the room spinning around her. She had done so much for Brittany, sacrificed her own dreams, put her own life on hold just to help her sister rise. And now, Brittany was standing there laughing, taking everything for herself, while Emma was left with nothing but the leftovers. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. And that was when the twist happened. Across the room, she saw something. A familiar face, a man she hadn't expected to see here. Arthur Harris, the CEO from the company she used to work for. He had always been a quiet presence in the background, but there was something different about him tonight. He wasn't laughing with the others, wasn't joining in on the toasts or the shallow conversations. His gaze was fixed on Emma, and for the first time all night, someone was actually looking at her. Really looking. He stepped toward her, his eyes steady and purposeful. "Emma," he said, his voice quiet but clear. "I've been meaning to talk to you." Emma's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't happening. Not here. Not now. But Arthur was already standing in front of her, his presence commanding the space around them. "Arthur, what are you doing here?" Emma asked, her voice strained with confusion. "I've been following your work," Arthur said. "The real work. The work you've been doing behind the scenes." He paused, his gaze softening. "And I think it's time you were recognized for it." Emma blinked, unsure of what was happening. This was a joke, right? Some twisted game? She had spent years pouring her soul into other people's success, only to be forgotten. But Arthur wasn't playing. His words weren't hollow. They weren't empty praise. "You've been overlooked for too long," Arthur continued. "But I see you, Emma. I see everything you've done. And it's time for you to take your place, too." Emma's breath caught in her throat. The anger, the hurt, everything she had bottled up over the years. Suddenly, it all felt so close to the surface. She wasn't sure what to do with it. Was this real? Was she finally being seen? How does it feel when someone finally sees your worth after you've been invisible for so long? Do you think Emma will finally claim her place, or will she be dragged back into the shadows? As Arthur's words hung in the air, the shift inside Emma was palpable. She felt it, the quiet, powerful realization that her time had come. But what would she do with it? Would she continue to fade away, or would she stand up and finally take her place in the spotlight? The battle inside her was just beginning. Emma's heart was still racing, the weight of Arthur's words hanging in the air like an unspoken promise. She could feel the tears rising, but she refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of them. She had spent so many years trying to stay composed, to keep herself together for the sake of others. But tonight, something was different. The knot inside her chest loosened, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she allowed herself to feel something other than numbness. Arthur stood there, waiting, his eyes never leaving hers. She had no idea how he had seen her, how he had known the truth when everyone else had turned away. But somehow, he had. And in that moment, he was offering her something no one had ever given her before: recognition. "Thank you," Emma said, her voice trembling. She didn't know what else to say. What words could express the turmoil, the frustration, the years of pain? She wasn't sure if she even believed she deserved it. But his sincerity, his belief in her, was enough to break through the walls she had built. Arthur nodded, a quiet understanding in his gaze. "You've earned this, Emma. Don't let anyone make you doubt that." She stood there, frozen, as the room continued to hum with chatter and clinking glasses. For the first time, she didn't feel invisible. She didn't feel like she was just a shadow, lurking in the background. She felt seen, but there was still something heavy in her heart. A question she wasn't sure how to answer. What now? She looked down at Lily, who was sitting quietly at the table, her small face still etched with confusion, still clutching the decorated cookie tin to her chest like it was a precious treasure. Emma had promised her that they would leave soon, that they wouldn't stay in this place of rejection any longer. But now, after hearing Arthur's words, after feeling the spark of hope flicker within her, Emma wasn't so sure. Could she really walk away from everything she had been to this family? Or had she already lost it all? "Mommy?" Lily's voice broke through her thoughts. She looked up, her big eyes filled with concern. "Are you okay?" Emma smiled, a real smile this time. "I'm okay, baby, just a little tired." Lily smiled back, her innocence a balm to Emma's wounded soul. She wanted to protect her from all the hurt, to shield her from the cruelty that had shaped Emma's life. But tonight, Emma realized something. She had been protecting her daughter from the wrong things. She had been shielding her from the world's judgment. But maybe it was time to let Lily see something else, the strength that came from standing up for yourself, even when the world didn't want you to. She stood, smoothing the fabric of her dress, and turned toward the exit. She didn't need to say goodbye to anyone. They wouldn't notice. They never did. Instead, she took Lily's hand and led her away from the laughter, the empty praise, and the hollow congratulations. For the first time in years, Emma felt no guilt, no shame, only a quiet, growing sense of clarity. As they reached the elevator, she stopped and turned back to the room one last time. Brittany was still standing at the center of it all, surrounded by her colleagues, laughing like she owned the world. Emma didn't feel anger anymore. She didn't feel resentment. She felt free. She knew now that she didn't need her family's approval. She didn't need their applause or their validation. She had lived too long in their shadows, and now it was time for her to step into the light, even if that light didn't come from them. "Let's go, sweetheart," Emma whispered, squeezing Lily's hand tighter. "We've got better places to be." They stepped outside, the cool night air brushing against their skin as they made their way to the car. Lily climbed into the back seat, her head resting against the window, and Emma started the engine, the low hum of the car filling the silence between them. The city lights flickered past, and Emma allowed herself to feel the weight of what had just happened. The change that had begun in that room, the shift in her own soul, was only just beginning. When they got home, Emma tucked Lily into bed, brushing the curls from her face, and kissed her forehead. She whispered softly, "You're my boss, you know that? You're the best thing I've ever done." Lily's sleepy smile was all the reward Emma needed. As she sat in the quiet of the living room, the phone buzzed with a message from Arthur. "You're the real deal, Emma. Don't let them rewrite your story. You're stronger than they'll ever know." Emma sat back in the chair, reading the words over and over again. For the first time, she believed them. She didn't need them to tell her who she was anymore. She knew. The next morning, Emma woke up to the sound of birds chirping outside her window, the sun casting soft rays through the blinds. It was a new day, a new beginning. As she made coffee and prepared breakfast for Lily, Emma felt the lightness that had been missing for so long. The heaviness, the burden of trying to fit into a place that never wanted her, was gone. She wasn't just a mother anymore, a sister, or a forgotten woman. She was Emma, and she was enough. She picked up her phone again, staring at the message thread. Arthur's words still lingered in her mind. "You're stronger than they'll ever know." With a deep breath, she clicked the reply button. "Thank you, Arthur. I think it's time for me to tell my own story now." And for the first time in her life, Emma felt the freedom in her own voice. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family, only to realize that the only approval you needed was your own? How do you reclaim your story when others try to erase it? If this story spoke to you, share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, type 100 to let us know. Where are you watching from? We'd love to hear from our global community. Thank you for joining us on Life Stories. If you enjoyed this journey, please share it with your friends. Let's continue to explore the stories that touch us all.